the people of the great state of Nebraska. The first time I walked into this chamber, I got chills. This chamber represents the hopes and dreams and aspirations of the American people. It represents the shared values we've had for nearly 2.5 centuries. It represents just how exceptional our republic, how exceptional America is. Today, it is all too easy to take for granted just how exceptional our great nation is. Our founders threw off the tyranny of a king with an idea. It was a really radical idea that our rights come to us directly from God, not from a king. And that governments were instituted to protect those rights. It was a brand new idea. That our rights are ours, that they are endowments from God, not the consent from some government. Even today, after 246 years, our founding principles are just as true. These values, like the rule of law, checks and balances, federalism, they're critical to our republic. We're strongest when we follow them, and we're never weaker when we stray from them. We're also strong because of our Constitution. Our Constitution, forging a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, is the greatest governing document ever written. The primary purpose of our government is to secure people's liberty and happiness, their peace and prosperity. And we've done it really, really well for nearly 2.5 centuries. This is incredibly rare. We have created a bubble in world history. For most of human history, people have worried that somebody bigger than them would come and take their stuff, or that a foreign army would rampage across the landscape, burning down everything. Not here in America. Another advantage of our system is that it unleashes the power of the individual's unbounded potential. In America, it doesn't matter where you start. With enough grit and hard work, you can go anywhere. That's why the world wants to come here. That's why they send their best and brightest students to study and train here. That's why nearly every major innovation and breakthrough comes from America. That's why so many have sought a better life in our great nation. Through our strength, we remain the cornerstone of global peace and prosperity. Our greatness is also reflected in our commitment to defend freedom, here in this building, in our courts, and even on battlefields. It requires much of us as patriots and citizens. And if we're not vigilant, it could easily slip away. To paraphrase Ronald Reagan, freedom is only one generation away from extinction. We don't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for each and every day. We must not lose sight of the things that make America so exceptional. That's our commitment to our God-given liberties. Our founders were concerned that as government got too big, it would tend toward tyranny and rob people of their freedoms. Here in the Senate, if we continue allowing the federal government to grow too big and too intrusive, we risk our peace and prosperity. We risk losing the very values that have always made America great. However, if we hold on to those founding principles, we have a path to an even brighter future for this great nation. The framers of our Constitution believed that government closest to the people is best able to serve them. This is common sense. What works in Nebraska may not work in New York. It's why we have a 10th Amendment to the Constitution, that the powers not specifically delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states and the American people. That's why top-down federal mandates usually do more harm than good. In my home state of Nebraska, we've shown America what's possible when the federal government gets out of the way and allows states to lead. We've proven that limited and responsive government works best. During my time as governor, we kept the size and scope of government small. We empowered people. We ran government more like a business. The reality is, when government works better, people are served better. We dramatically improved the level of services that we provided to Nebraska families. We got help to people in need faster than ever before. For example, we reduced the on-hold time for people calling into our economic assistance phone line by 75%. We made it easier for citizens and businesses to work with the state. As an example, we cut the time it takes to issue a permit by nearly in half. And we achieved millions of dollars in savings while doing so. And you know what saving money allows you to do? It allows you to give back people their tax dollars in the form of tax relief. We provided billions of dollars in tax relief, including to our veterans and our seniors, by phasing out the taxes on their retirement income and Social Security. We attracted new investments and jobs to communities, big and small. We employed a record number of Nebraskans, and our unemployment rate fell to a historic low. We made government work better. We proved that we can do a better job of providing services while controlling our costs. We also proved that we can respect people's freedoms and liberties while keeping people safe. During the pandemic, we kept kids in classrooms, people at their jobs, and government open. And we were ranked the #1 best pandemic response state. All of this reflects our conservative Nebraska values. In Nebraska, we respect people's freedom. We value strong communities, family, and faith. We honor our law enforcement and our military. We expect a limited, accountable government. We believe in personal accountability and responsibility and the incredible potential of the individual. Nebraska is what America is supposed to be. But nationally, we've strayed from these values. Too many take our freedom for granted. Too many focus not on what is good, but on their grievances. Too often we hear resentment rather than reverence for the very principles that made this a great nation. Too many have forgotten the old adage that a government big enough to give you everything you want is strong enough to take everything you have. Massive and reckless spending to fund big government programs has seriously weakened our economy. Families and businesses are struggling under the burden of high taxes, high inflation, and rising interest rates. And a wave of job-killing regulations from Washington is harming American agriculture and industry. At the same time, the federal government is failing in many of its most basic responsibilities, like keeping us safe. Undeniably, national security is paramount to the nation's freedom and prosperity. It's the federal government's most important responsibility. But the Biden administration has turned a blind eye to the humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border. Vulnerable people are dying, victims of the cartels. Fentanyl and other dangerous drugs are flooding into our nation. So are suspects on our terrorist watch list. And what comes across the border, whether it's the drugs, the criminals, or the human trafficking victims, they don't stay there. They impact every community. It's costing Americans their lives. Taryn Lee Griffin was a 24-year-old mom of two when she died in Lincoln, Nebraska of a drug overdose. She was out with friends when she took a pill she thought was a prescription drug. It was laced with a lethal dose of fentanyl. Her mom, Liz, said, "Our daughter is everyone's daughter." And she's right. Our sons and daughters, our friends and neighbors, they are paying the price for this crisis with their lives every day. It's shameful and unacceptable. This administration's incompetence on the southern border is matched by its foreign policy blunders. The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan projected weakness to our friends and adversaries. And American service members were losing their lives, including a Nebraskan, Corporal Dagan Page. Unbelievably, we left Americans behind and abandoned our Afghani security partners. Our allies are seriously questioning our commitment to our friends. And even worse, the bad guys, our adversaries, like the Chinese Communist Party, regimes in Russia, Iran, North Korea, they are questioning our resolve. Our freedoms and way of life depend upon peace. How do we maintain the peace? We maintain peace through strength. Not for the first time in our history do we find ourselves at a pivotal moment, what Ronald Reagan would term a time of choosing. I believe the choice is clear. We must chart a path to greater freedom and strength. We must remain the world's beacon of peace and prosperity. It requires us to get back to basics, back to our founding values. Those values have guided me as governor, and they will guide me here. As governor, we spent 8 years delivering on excellence. I didn't believe the naysayers back then when I started, and I don't believe them now. Government can work better, and it can do so while respecting our liberties. That's the goal I will work toward each and every day. I will strive to make the federal government work for the people of this country. I will reject every effort to restrict our liberties and undermine our values. I will work to restore transparency and faith in the federal government, and I will work to control spending, curb unnecessary regulation, and limit the size and scope of government. I will work to secure our borders and provide the resources to defend ourselves against our enemies. I will work to assure that we have a well-trained, well-led, and well-equipped military to defend us. I will hold this administration and future administrations accountable to the people of Nebraska. And I will always fight for the best interests and freedoms of the Nebraskans I serve. In spite of the challenges, I believe there has never been a better time to be an American. However, many don't feel this way. We must make the American dream real for them. Throughout history, we have risen to meet every challenge. With our founding values as our guide, We will again rise to meet the challenge of this moment. My experience in the Senate so far has reaffirmed my faith that we have more in common than divides us. With that joy and faith in our nation, I ask God to continue to bless the great state of Nebraska and the United States of America. Madam President, I yield back.
Senate by a Nebraska colleague as sharp, as capable, and as ready to get to work as Senator Ricketts. As Senator Ricketts noted, Nebraska is what America is supposed to be. I know Senator Ricketts cares deeply about the people of our great state, and together we will work hard to deliver results for Nebraska. Senator Ricketts served Nebraska admirably as our governor for 2 terms, and I am confident that his time in the United States Senate will further his legacy as an exceptional advocate for our state. Just this month, Senator Ricketts and we collaborated by traveling to the southern border to see firsthand the crisis that's unfolding there. We've partnered on a number of bills to push back on the Biden administration's bureaucratic overreach, including on WOTUS. And we held a teletown hall for our constituents. I congratulate Senator Ricketts on his maiden speech here in the United States Senate, and I look forward to many more opportunities to work together toward the interests of our home state of Nebraska. Madam President, I congratulate the Senator and welcome him to the United States Senate.
Madam President.
The Senator from South Dakota.
Madam President, I want to welcome, and we get to add another plain-spoken Nebraskan to the United States Senate, and people who bring a common sense, a clear-eyed realism, a solutions-oriented approach to the Senate, and really grateful to have former Governor, now Senator, Pete Ricketts join the United States Senate, along with his colleague, Senator Deb Fischer. That is a powerful, powerful duo, and will be a great partnership for the state of Nebraska and make great contributions to the United States Senate and to the betterment of our country. And I know that like a lot of people from their region of the world, they understand, as he pointed out in his remarks, the importance of a strong and secure America, an America that projects strength in the world, not just militarily, but economically, diplomatically. And so as we work on these issues, we face lots of challenges, lots of dangers in the world today. I'm just delighted to have another United States Senator who comes to us with a record of accomplishment as a governor, got lots of things done when he was the governor of Nebraska, and as a neighbor state, a state that gets an opportunity to observe, and actually share almost more than a border with Senator Fischer, because she and I, my hometown and her home area are literally just as we speak, as the crow flies in the Nebraska and the Dakotas, a few miles apart. But to know that we're going to have 2 people here representing that state that I've been able to watch not only from afar but now up close, and just know how talented they are, how dedicated they are, and again, just how practical and realistic and commonsensical they are about the challenges facing our country and about the solutions that we need to put in place to meet those challenges. So congratulations on your remarks and welcome. It's great to have you here, and we look forward to serving with you, Senator Ricketts, and continue to serve with Senator Fischer. Thank you.